new theme, and this month we are diving into pause. Windy allergy season. No. We are diving into the power of vulnerability. So as we kick off this theme, we're going to start by first kind of defining and gaining clarity around what we mean in the context of this word vulnerability, which can have various definitions to it. And we're going to explore how we can then begin to see how the power of vulnerability can actually impact us as a spiritual practice, and how to navigate this path of vulnerability together. So vulnerability is vital to our own personal transformation, as it invites us to go deep and to look below the surface of our kind of exterior lives and selves, to explore our inner world of emotions and beliefs, and that which kind of motivates our behaviors and actions. And so when we begin to look through the lens of vulnerability, we can see how it is a key component, or like a building block for our own personal evolution. But not only that, it is important to create a healthy and thriving community. As we say here every Sunday, global transformation through personal evolution. So we look at these topics not only on the individual level, but on the collective as well. And then we're going to end the theme by focusing how to harness this power of vulnerability to live out loud. Our theme this whole year is living out loud. Living a life full of possibility and experience a deep connection and fulfillment in all areas of our lives. So you ready? All right, let's dive in. So what is vulnerability? Again, we're going to turn to Brene Brown. We are using her book this month, The Gift of Imperfection, thank you. And it is available in the bookstore. And I will just say we're also having a book study today. If you want to dive deeper into that, even if you didn't sign up, you can just drop in for that. So Brene Brown, who is a researcher, author, and professor of social work, she defines vulnerability as a state of emotional exposure that comes with a certain degree of uncertainty. It involves a person's willingness to accept the emotional risk that comes from being open and willing to love and be loved. Ooh, that's what it's all about, isn't it? To be loved, the willingness to be loved and to be loving. So to be vulnerable is to explore the depths of ourselves, even when we are unsure of what we might uncover. It's stepping out, whether literally or metaphorically, often in the face of uncertainty or fear, for the purpose of fostering a more fuller expression of ourselves in others. So some practical examples of this may be, being vulnerable in a relationship, even though there's a chance that it may lead to rejection, right? Or being willing to admit you made a mistake, right? Or vulnerability may look like simply being willing to feel the difficult emotions. Sadness, anger. These emotions that we've talked about before, how in our society have often been labeled as bad or negative, or we've been kind of trained to avoid. But really being vulnerable means diving in to explore how we really feel about something, and to be honest with ourselves, with each other, and clear on our boundaries and expectations. So you can see how what we've been talking about already the past couple of months on this theme of this year have led to this opportunity to go even deeper in this idea of vulnerability. So we've talked about what vulnerability is, but I want to get clear also on what it is not, as far as the context that we are going to be talking about it this month. So vulnerability is not oversharing or simply a dumping of our emotions in an inappropriate way, right? It's not just this spewing whatever's on our heart and all of our personal history and our stories kind of at random upon the world with whoever will listen. You know, with social media these days, it gives us this platform which can be used very consciously and intentionally, but it's also, you know, can seemingly provide connection when it's not an actual authentic connection. So what I'm talking about is, you know, being vulnerable in this way, we're not talking about just putting everything out in social media. Because what that does is it gives you a false sense of connection. You may get one or two responses, but it's not as intentional as choosing to invite someone into your world personally, reaching out to a friend or reaching out to someone in your community and consciously, intentionally asking for an opportunity to connect, to be vulnerable. And then in that context, share what is coming up for you. It takes a conscious choice and intention behind the opportunity of being vulnerable. So what we're talking about is, you know, not just dumping everything, nor is it being a doormat or putting ourselves in a position in which we may be exposed to harm or danger. So it's not vulnerability in kind of a weakness, but it's the conscious intention to express our thoughts, our feelings, our desires in a way that serves and nurtures a more authentic life and deeper connections and relationships with ourselves and others. So this is important because vulnerability is the very thing that is needed in order to live our life fully, to allow others in, and to experience a deep connection and belonging. Now, I'm not saying that this is easy, y'all. It's actually one of the hardest things that we can do in our personal work is to truly be honest and vulnerable, first with ourselves, right? To really look at our inner landscape from a place of curiosity. And then to take the next step and actually share with another. And I don't want to also just kind of, skate by or discount the many barriers that we experience in our society that can keep us from feeling comfortable or safe or free to be vulnerable, to express our authentic selves in a world where there are so many different ideas and opinions about what bodies should or shouldn't look like, for example, who we should or shouldn't love. So it takes courage to know who we are, to be vulnerable enough, and then also discernment with who we consciously choose to be vulnerable with, and to grow in our own understanding of ourselves and allow that power within to shine forth, no matter what the external voices of the world may be telling us, to stand firmly in the truth of who we are. So let's take a look at what Dr. Ernest Holmes writes as the founder of the Science of Mind teaching. He says, every one of us has in back of us the potential of the universe. That's a lot of potential. And he goes on to say, there is an irresistible potential pressing against everyone for self-expression. As we listen, we shall hear it, not as a voice, but as a feeling, a divine urge to express. Those words really resonate with me, a divine urge to express. For me, I feel it kind of as like a bubbling sensation almost from my core, and then it moves up and it's kind of like a fluttering in my heart, and then it begins to kind of become articulated in my mind as what it is I am to say or do or express in a particular moment. So we always have the divine potential of the universe seeking to express through us. And just as we can observe this movement of energy and growth and vitality in the natural world around us, it is also true in our lives. When we are limited or unable to express ourselves fully, the effects are far-reaching. In a world that often seeks to contain or suppress our expression, vulnerability becomes an integral piece in actualizing spirit within. The willingness to take the risk of authentic living, although doing so may open us to some challenges along the way, it leads us to the very outpicturing of the irresistible potential within that is always seeking to express through each of us. So if we were to imagine this beautiful spring day, a beautiful garden with a variety of plants and flowers, bushes and trees, and know that each is unique with its own colors and shapes and fragrances. Some are tall and majestic, others are small and delicate. Some bloom in the spring, while others thrive in the summer or the fall, or rest in the winter. Each of us is like those plants in the garden. We are all unique with our own strengths and talents and gifts and quirks. And just like each plant and flower in this garden, we bring something special to the world. Some of us may be great at music, while others are gifted writers or artists or quilters, healers, teachers, friends, leaders. Some may be great at listening, while others are more natural leaders, movers and shakers, doers. And just like that garden needs a variety of different plants to thrive, the world needs each of us to bring our uniqueness fully alive. You know, imagine if the tulip decided one day that it didn't feel like it was a good enough flower because it wasn't as tall as the sunflower, and it chose not to bloom. Well, luckily, plants don't have that ability to judge and compare, right? Like we humans do. Or our world is full of such variety and beauty, and everything plays its perfect part in the natural order and harmony and order of the universe. But without each individual plant that has been created, there would be a lack in that diversity and harmony and order, and from which there is a cascading ripple effect, which we notice when certain plants and species begin to die off. You know, we are just now seeming like on a kind of a collective consciousness perspective being able to appreciate and understand the importance of bees, yes? So for so long, it's been like, bees sting, they're bad, because they may hurt a human for simply getting in the way of what they were trying to do. So now we see, if we have no more bees and pollinators, we have no more crops and plants, and we have no more food. So everything is vital, and so are we. We don't need to go searching for some kind of divine purpose in the world. We can simply trust that there is that divine urge of spirit within us that is pushing us always to the greater and greater expansion and expression of who we are. To simply allow love to unfold and it be expressed through us in each and every moment. Without each of us and the unique value that we bring to this world, the world will not be as rich and vibrant as it is. So let us embrace and recognize the value that we bring. Just like that beautiful garden. We are so beautiful in our own way. And just like the garden, we can thrive when we are nourished and supported. When we are given the opportunity to express and allowed to express our true selves. But this takes the willingness to risk being vulnerable and actually blooming, of saying what is on our heart and stop holding back because we are afraid of what someone else may say or think about us. My hope for the world is that we all see and know and acknowledge our inherent value and then cultivate our own unique way of being in this world and share ourselves fully with the world. And here's the thing, not everyone is going to like your unique way of being. And that too is okay. When we realize that we are here to express spirit through us in the way that only we can know it, then we can let go of trying to do and be anything for anyone else. Besides, of course, our core values of kind, loving, joyful, peace, right? So the book that we are studying this month, The Gifts of Imperfection, Brene Brown calls this type of living wholehearted living a wholehearted life. And she invites us to create not only safe but brave spaces. Again, we did our theme on this somewhat recently. So to create a safe and brave space for communities, for relationships to thrive and grow, which are based on vulnerability. Because vulnerability is the starting point for that deep and authentic connection. It calls us to bring our own unique expression to life while extending the same invitation to others. That's the key, right? We can't just walk around in the world like, I'm fully expressed, it's all about me, while stepping on other people's space to express as well. So it calls us to be unique and extend that invitation to others while embracing our differences and our unique perspectives. And being brave and in alignment with our own integrity of our values to stand for truth and equity. So this is where this work gets a little nuanced, right? It's this idea, right, that like your idea of freedom and expression must stop where it begins to overstep my humanity. So it takes an awareness that we are one. So knowing that, as we get in touch with that authentic divine urge within us to express, that true desire to express cannot squelch anyone else's desire. For spirit is this one harmonious flow of life. So if your way of expressing authentically in the world is in any way holding anyone else down, I would question the authenticity of that expression. because spirit would not create an urge within itself to then oppress or suppress another aspect of itself, right? And, when we approach conversations like this, we have to look at the kind of social construct of the conversations that are occurring in our world right now as things have become so politicized. And this idea of free speech is really, its authenticity, the definition is being questioned, right? So how do we look at this idea of free self-expression from this lens of a world that works for everyone, from the perspective of oneness? When we approach others with an attitude of curiosity and respect, we can then create a space where all opinions can be shared and understood. But this doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything that is said. But it does mean that we are willing to listen instead of instantly getting defensive, a willingness to consider other perspectives, and then check back in with ourselves and our values and see where it lands in our own personal integrity scale. It's important to stand firm in our values and in our beliefs, these universal truths, this truth that is true for everyone. These qualities such as peace and love, harmony, freedom, joy, creativity. These are the things that are wanting to be known and expressed more fully in the world. That is the divine urge through each of us as spirit wanting to know itself better. So instead of attacking someone personally because of what they believe or how they express in the world, it helps us to focus on the impact that that person's beliefs or actions or statements may have, especially on marginalized and oppressed communities. So when you notice yourself wanting to clap back real fast on Facebook to a certain comment, just check in. Are you attacking or judging the person? Are you even harboring thoughts of, oh, this person is blah, 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 blah? Or notice that. If so, take a step back, breathe, and then say, okay, what am I really upset about? It's that this person's actions or statements have a negative impact on a community, a person that I love, or myself, right? And then from there, we can more accurately approach what is the actual action or behavior that is upsetting us from a place of curiosity and from a place of engaging in order to transform. Otherwise, attack, defend, we get nowhere. Finding the common ground, right? Like, I see you care. You are a very passionate person. So am I. And this is what I notice or feel. Blah, 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 blah. It isn't about being woke, but it is about waking up, stepping up, and making a difference. Because as we've talked about, there is enough space in the garden for all variety of plants and flowers. And we are all learning and growing and evolving together. even the little prickly things with the sharp, they have a purpose. And what if we weren't to judge them, but to learn from them and to say, what is there for me to know about this? So it's time for us to wake up to the truth of our interconnectedness and the inherent value of all life. We're living in a world where greed and money and power have taken precedence over the sanctity of human life. And again, we saw this week as more parents grieve the lives of the children taken by gun violence. It is up to each of us to shift this paradigm. What is happening in the world around us is not some problem out there for someone else to solve. If we blame and give all our power away to the politicians who are supposed to be doing this and that and the other, nothing will ever happen because obviously they're not doing it. What is happening in the world is a reflection of our collective consciousness. The collective beliefs held in the one mind, based on everyone's thoughts and opinions that kind of go into this vast soup, so to speak. So it is important that we wake up, step up, make a difference, notice, pay attention, do the things in the world of form that we are called to do, but also to work at the level of consciousness. To speak up for marginalized communities, but also to ask what, the deeper questions, right? What are the beliefs that are commonly held in our collective consciousness that we must dismantle by challenging them within our own minds, thoughts, and beliefs, and providing a space for others to do the same? Being vulnerable enough to ask, how am I complicit? How am I a part of this world where such things can happen? Where am I not valuing a life? To take full responsibility in our own lives, knowing that we are one with all. Every human being, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, age, or social economic status, deserves a chance to live their life out loud. To live, period. For we all have a unique and valuable contribution to make by simply being afforded the opportunity to be alive and to thrive in our own unique way. We are all a part of this beautiful garden, a unique piece to the whole. And it is only when we begin to see the value in all life, including beautiful Gaia, Mother Earth herself, that we can create a world that honors and uplifts everyone. A world where love leads the way, where love is always the answer. So this week, I invite you to consider, is there something in your life that you are not saying or expressing? Something that you are holding back? A way that you are stopping yourself from living your full potential? And how would embracing vulnerability support you in your own personal growth in order to allow for global transformation through personal evolution? To get curious how perhaps you're withholding something that may seem like, oh, but this is only impacting me. I'm just going to play small. I'm not going to say that. It's okay. To notice how you're withholding your full self by maybe trying to maintain the status quo of this or that, could be making an impact on those around you and on the collective growth of our humanity. And not from a place of guilt or shame, but just getting curious, self-inquiry, an invitation to step fully into your power and your authentic self-expression, leaning into the power of vulnerability to see and share your unique light with the world, knowing that together we are that beautiful garden where all are loved and valued, and everyone and everything is working in divine order. As long as we stop getting in our own way, yes? All right, so let's take a deep breath. And let's just begin with a practice of noticing. Putting to practice this idea of vulnerability through self-awareness by first noticing and acknowledging what is occurring right here, right now. Checking in first with the body, noticing any physical sensations, scanning the body, hot spots, cold spots, tingling, pulsing, aching, just noticing. And not making anything good or bad. Just simply notice how you feel now. And now noticing, checking in with how you are feeling right now. Not how you felt when you woke up, or even when you walked in the room or turned on the live stream, but right here, right now. What is stirring in your emotional field? And perhaps noticing how it is connected with a physical sensation, a swirling, a pulsing, a tingling, an aching, a bubbling. Noticing and naming without judgment how you feel right now. And then moving our awareness to our minds and noticing what thoughts are occurring right here, right now. Becoming that observer and just listening and noticing to what we are thinking right now. This practice is something that you can take with you throughout your week. In just a couple of minutes to check in, to practice self-awareness through being vulnerable and allowing yourself the space and the grace to simply notice what is going on in your physical body, your mental body, your emotional body. And then opening your heart to that expansive place of love. Releasing any judgment or shame that may come up by simply noticing what is occurring. As I now speak this word, this affirmative prayer, knowing and recognizing that there is one life moving in as and through all things, as love, as peace, as freedom. And this life is who I am. And this is true for each and every one of us, that love, wholeness, freedom, peace is who we are. And there is this divine urge expressing through each of us to know, to embody, to integrate, to express, to allow spirit, life, God, universe, whatever word works for you, to allow this universal presence to be known more fully as this unique expression of life that you are. Allowing the fullness and the beauty of the flower that you are to bloom, to be seen, to be known, to be loved as you notice and love and appreciate all the beauty around you. So I'm so grateful to speak this word and to know that right here, right now, all is truly well. That together we are creating this brave and safe space to be who we are and to love and nurture and honor each other. So grateful for the fulfillment of this prayer as I release it into the action of the law that always says yes, yes, yes. It is done, it is so, and so it is.